Let's spend a few minutes talking about the economics behind the cloud computing story. My name is Travis Hargett. I'm the president of Eastridge Technology. I'm also a Microsoft Virtual Technology Specialist, focusing on collaboration and cloud systems. So, over the past 40 and 50 years, IT has gone through three major disruptive changes that have transformed our industry in the way we do business. First, of course, was the onset of the mainframe. The concept of computing was on a monolithic device controlled by some smart person in the IT department. It revolutionized the way we did business, but it was centralized and not very people-friendly. The second was the move to client-server computing that put the power of computing in the hands of the masses, both at work and at home, making computing real, affordable, and more challenging for IT to manage. The third was the proliferation of the web with the dot-com bubble. We found a way to connect all these PCs through the internet, changing the way we did commerce, impacting everything from the way we read newspapers to the way we shop, the way we bank. What's happening right now? We're undergoing the fourth major transformation of the IT industry, and that's the shift to cloud computing. I'll tell you, this shift, it's going to happen the same way other transformations happen. There's going to be companies that got it early and jumped in, some that were careful and saw the value and jumped in, and others that resisted the change, held out and kept saying, hey, we're going to keep doing it the way we're doing it, and then in the end got gobbled up or were not as competitive as some of their other competitors in the industry as far as the economic shift to the cloud. So this is happening right now. The question is, when you're looking at cloud computing initiatives, first of all, you got to understand why people are doing it. How do you get there from here? How much do you put in the cloud? And when do you do it? So I'm going to try to answer some of these questions. Over the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to spend a little time talking at a very high level macroeconomic trends driving the move to the cloud, and how it can address a number of pains you're feeling in your business today and start to begin to deliver top-line value to your company. The areas that I'm going to focus on are really the economic trends, the real business value, and then some of the hybrid solutions, questions, and trade-offs that are available to you to take advantage of the cloud today. So, why do I want to start this journey and depart from the comfort of the current way of doing business? The way we do business today, it might not be perfect, but at least we understand it and we're comfortable with it. Well, let's take a look at what the analysts are saying. So this is pretty recent. This is from January 21st of 2011. Gartner is saying that cloud computing has become the top priority in 2011 for CIOs. Now, they've got a lot of analysts. They're not biased towards one technology firm versus the other, and I think they're talking about cloud across a broad set of vendors in the market. So that's what Gartner has to say. What about the IDC? Well, they're saying that the private cloud will mature in 2011, and you'll see the battle among vendors for their cloud platforms, and the focus is going to shift from pure kind of shared services to infrastructure as a service, or IaaS, and then from infrastructure as a service to platform as a service, PaaS. Finally, Windows Azure. Azure will get the respect it deserves. The first challenge was how to help people understand what it is and how to use it. We're going to see the big four become the big five, with Microsoft included. And the prediction is to displace HP as the #1 global distributed systems management software provider. These are just a few of the predictions from between 2010 to 2012. So it's fair to say this is a very hot topic in the executive circles. So while reassurance from the analysts is nice, it's rarely a reason to take action. You've got to see true business benefit. So let's take a look at some of the trends that are currently occurring in our industry. So by 2014, 50% of business devices are expected to be smartphones. A lot of these are going to be consuming cloud services, and demand's going to continue to increase. 84% of organizations have a remote workforce, or employees that want to work at home, or increase in temporary workers or vendors. This is adding a lot of complexity to your IT infrastructure. The big nut here for savings is from an IT infrastructure utilization, and the fact that 85% of your data center capacity is probably idle at a given time, on average. And this is not spikes, this is average capacity sitting there idle. The other one is a people problem, in that 70% of your IT staff's time and budget is really allocated to maintaining data center operations. What if we could take that down to 30%? What kind of strategic projects within the company could these folks be working on? Where today, in most IT organizations, there's a backlog where the business units are having to wait for available resources in IT to address their business needs. So this is one of my favorite illustrations as far as where does the money go within IT? Software and hardware only make up 10% on average of the total spend in an IT organization. When you start to look at labor, that's a big chunk. The other ones are maintenance, backup, disaster recovery, tools, network support. This makes up 90% of the IT spend in an organization. Now, the idea of moving to the cloud as a utility is new to a lot of people, but listen, we've done this before. Here we go. This is a shot of my hometown, Winston-Salem, my little city. So as I'm sitting in my office right now, looking out across through the skyscrapers, there's some giant smokestacks sticking up on the other side of town. Well, if you've ever driven up Highway 52 or come through I-40 Business, you've seen these smokestacks, and they say RJR TOB. This is the Old Bailey power plant for R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. The plant, this was one of their big plants way back. It's since been converted into other uses. But that old power plant's still here. Guess what? It has not been used in many, many years. It's been sitting there idle. That company figured out a long time ago they could buy power off the grid cheaper, more efficiently, and more reliably than they could make it themselves. That's a utility. We buy power like a utility. Companies are now figuring out that they can get email, online file store through SharePoint. They can get that as a utility, and other companies can do that a whole lot cheaper than they can do it themselves. So let's talk about the three economies of scale related to cloud computing. From a supply side point of view, the main cost inside of a data center, you're going to have 45% allocated to hardware, 25% to facilities and operations, hardware and labor 15%, and power approximately 15%. Well, what happens as you scale up? If you take a data center with 1,000 servers in it, you get an average cost per server of about $4,500. If you scale that up and have 100,000 servers in an efficient data center, well, your costs have dropped by almost half to $2,500 per server. This is the supply side economy of scale for scaling up the number of servers. From a demand side point of view, there's some real important reasons why you want to look at a larger infrastructure. Let's look over here, time and day variability. We can see that the United Kingdom, when they're working, they have a much higher spike on their servers. But as their workday ends, the workday in Japan is ramping up. And so these servers are going to work utilizing the demand from Japan. Another one is site traffic. So if you're in a tax business, first few months of the year, you're going to have high demand. If you're in a retail business, you've got high demand in October, November, December, and then it ramps back down. So this is a good way to spread out resources across different industries. Another issue that we see a lot of is over-provisioning for uncertain growth. You're just not sure how much to buy, so most companies end up buying too much, and it's underutilized. As you add servers, here we've got a chart here, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 servers, the percentage of uptime and utilization increases to almost 100%, just from a point of scale from the demand side of the business. From a multi-tenancy point of view, now if we have 100,000 servers, we have one instance for multiple clients. We have one group of administrators that are servicing these services, these servers. We have fixed resources, and costs really go down towards zero as you add more and more servers. A good example of this is Office 365, which is going to be rolling out in the July timeframe of 2011. So overall, total cost of ownership, if you have about 100 servers, you're looking at about $5,000 per server, as opposed to 100,000 servers, like a very large data center. You're coming down to the below $500 per server cost. Now, economies of the cloud provide a lot of benefit for public scenarios, but it's not always feasible for a company to be participating in a public cloud in a shared server environment. They may want to have what's called a private cloud, where they have dedicated hardware, dedicated network that's provisioned off from other servers. It's not a shared server scenario. The same rules apply, it's just not as dramatic. So you can have a private cloud scenario, continue to get a reduction in your cost as you add servers, but it's always going to be a little bit more expensive than having public cloud. Now, this one shows at scale, public cloud, you're past 100,000 servers, you're down here in the $500 level. For a small and medium business, even with 100 servers, it's going to cost them about $8,000 a server. So imagine if you could take these applications and run them in the cloud for a small and medium business, you have a 40-time cost benefit for them. Enterprise customers are going to see about a 10-time cost benefit. And that's assuming those enterprises have 1,000 servers. That's still a very large server farm for an enterprise. Now, all this will vary by customer, and all this will vary by scenarios specific to the customer's environment. So, business benefits. There's quite a few. Reduced cost. You have better flexibility, agility, better mobility. It's going to be, in addition to the cost savings, easier for you guys, for the company to implement, to administer, and very highly automated. Your infrastructure is going to be usage-based. It's going to be like a utility with self-service benefits. It's going to be scalable to the point of when you need to ramp up and add additional cycles and CPU, you pay for what you use. When you're not using those cycles, you're not paying for that. Most of all, you're going to drive tremendous efficiencies from having a very large number of servers at your disposal, and those costs are spread out amongst all the users that are using those servers. If you need more information, you can always go to microsoft.com/cloud or hit eastridge.net, and I'd always be happy to answer email at my email address listed here. Thank you very much.